Hi, this is Hank Colbert with ExtraPointFootball.com. This week, the Try This video series returns to the site. We're going to talk about one of the most heavily debated teams of the year, the Minnesota Vikings. They've gotten off to a disappointing start. Brett Favre hasn't been as effective as they've expected him to be. After reaching the NFC Championship game, this team has just been a huge disappointment. So right now, I'm going to look at ways to remedy that. Favre is playing hurt. They said he has 2 fractures in his injured ankle that he hurt back in the championship game. However, there have been accounts that Dr. told ProFootballTalk.com that actually those 2 fractures, while technically fractures, are actually more similar in their structure to sprains, and that she said if it was a playoff game, most players would be able to play through it. Favre, knowing him, wants to keep the streak alive no matter how much he denies it, so we will see him on Sunday. And if he gets benched, this play that I talked about actually would work with Tarvaris Jackson because his mobility would simplify the reads and create more passing room. So regardless of who starts quarterback, this will be an effective play. I was going through an old book and came across the wing T formation. A bit of a mix of some of the elements of the single wing and the old T-style formation where there would be 3 running backs in the backfield. So what this formation has is a tight end on the left side, fullback right behind the quarterback who's under center, and the running back underneath the left guard. Receiver in the slot and the wide out. And so the way this play starts is the quarterback takes the snap, does a pivot left, turns around all the way, and takes the ball and places it in the stomach of the halfback. Now, if he can look at the defense, and he can either read it and decide whether he is going to hand it off to the running back or keep it for a second. And now, when he does that, that gives him some options based off of the following. He can look, and right now you see defensive ends blocked, defensive tackle, because this is based off the 3-4 defense, the Patriots defense. Vince Wilfork is massive. He's getting your backfield if you don't double team him. So we'll just assume he commands a double team. Right now you have your left tackle move up to hit the next level, tight end to seal the edge against the outside linebacker, and your right tackle pulls left to seal the edge for your next option, your slot receiver, in this case the Vikings' speedy Percy Harvin, who with his touchdown run against the Green Bay Packers showed he can be just as effective as a runner as he was back in the University of Florida, where even though he was a receiver, he would line up in the backfield and run with the ball and be deadly there. So he has the possibility of running left and going through this hole if based off the quarterback's read of the defensive end and the outside linebacker. Now, one of these players would try and crash in the backfield, but the other would be forced to freeze and watch between the quarterback and the halfback to see who has the ball, because the quarterback can still run out, roll out a little, and pass the ball. You have Randy Moss on a comeback route or anything like that, and he has a good chance to fight for the ball because he's just so huge and big-bodied as well as fast. So you have all these options, and this is effective because the Minnesota Vikings' strongest side to run is their left side. So you pull another guy to their left, run with Harvin there, gives him room to create space. Whereas Peterson is more of a bruising running back. You just put him behind the fullback, let the fullback pick up whoever doesn't freeze and tries to crash into the backfield, and then Peterson will pick up yards himself and fight through the defense. Now, Bill Belichick is a coach who made his statement for the Coaching Hall of Fame on the defensive side of the ball. If you remember the beginning of the decade, that was what carried the Patriots to their dynasty of Super Bowls, even though he's remembered most recently for his spread attack that took him to the 18-1 record in 2007 season. So there's a couple of different things you can do to try and attack this formation. And of course, like I said before, if you got Tarvaris Jackson back here, you also have the option of the quarterback running, so it freezes the defense even more. But even if it's just Favre, he still has the strength in his legs that he's able to do these rollouts, and he does them better than some 30-year-old NFL quarterbacks. So the quarterback runs and he has the passing option. So it freezes the defense, which is good because on running plays, you're essentially running 10 men on offense versus 11 on defense because the quarterback's just not a factor usually, unless you got a Michael Vick, Vince Young type of guy. So what you would do here when you freeze defenders kind of creates more mismatches, reduces that numbers disadvantage because nobody knows who has the ball. They've got to stop and see, does the running back, receiver, or quarterback end up with the ball? So it freezes the defense and you're good there. Now, you have Bill Belichick. He's a very smart guy. First thing he's going to see in game if this happens is he's going to think of the wildcat as far as the variety of options and confusing the defense. So he's likely to do what most defenses started doing to the Wildcat, which was run blitzing it like crazy. This is where we will see if Favre has truly gone downhill or if he's still the great quarterback that he was when in his prime and even last season. So you're going to see a blitz. Now, you're going to have to pick up the hot receiver, and this is what veteran quarterbacks do best. This is where Tarvaris Jackson would not be able to run the system as well. If they start run blitzing there, he might have a problem. But Favre, who I fully expect to play, is great at this. You know, you have everybody drop back to pass block. Favre takes a 3-step drop right here. His receivers are defending him. Fullback stays in the block, probably on the right side because that's the line's weakest point. And so, of course, you have your 3 defensive linemen come on the blitz, probably a linebacker, and then a middle linebacker. Now, it would probably be this inside linebacker because you're going to want to drop this one back into zone defense while you crash with your outside linebacker. That way Percy Harvin can't beat the blitz with a slant. And as we saw on the Packers game, Favre was really terrible throwing across his body, 2 receivers going across the formation. And so that's why they would drop a guy back here and not give that up, because that's where Favre was most prone to throwing interceptions. And so I have a couple different options. Now, you can have your tight end just run here, but you're likely to see the safety first of all get moved up and cover him. You can have your running back go on a swing pass and force. Now you're going to have your outside linebacker defend that, your safety defend it and let the tight end go while the linebacker hopefully bumps him. So it's really just a confusing thing there. So Favre would have to get the ball out super fast. And of course on this side, you let Randy Moss just go deep, do what he loves to do the most, take the top off the defense. The safety has to cover him so he doesn't get burned on the long play. Now Harvin is going to be crowded in here, so Harvin can just run that little out route, and just like Belichick's teams benefited from with Moss and Welker, the little underneath guy gets wide open on a basic route and gets in position to get yards upfield just because Randy Moss takes the top off the defense. So that's why defensively it's going to be very hard to stop. And you can even look at moving around some of your safeties and defensive backs, because this is an unbalanced formation the way you have 2 cornerbacks on one side of the line. So you can do a couple things with that. Belichick could, of course, try and move this cornerback over into run support on this side of the play. The problem with that is then you have to look at this safety. If the safety creeps up, you run a little deep slant route, get behind the linebackers, he's open in position to get yards upfield. Safety stays up, basic comeback route, he's open, or an out route with Moss running deep upfield. So either of those would work. So that's why you can't really move him there. And of course, like I said earlier, if you move the safety up too far to try and blitz on the play and keep the cornerback here, now you got the problem of running the tight end upfield. Vasanthi Shenko, graded by some scouts as the most athletic tight end in the league. So it just creates all these mismatch problems in the passing game based off of the run game, which is so hard to stop here. So in no way can you really slow down this offense if the line holds their blocks. Of course, that's always the key, and it will be here. So we'll see if Favre's line can play even halfway decent behind this formation, which I don't honestly expect Childress to whip out of his playbook. 1, because he's not that much of an innovator, and 2, just because it is a rather obscure formation. But I think this type of formation would give the Vikings a schematic advantage over a team that has an athletic advantage over them. So I'm Hank Kovler with Extra Point Football. See you next week on Try This.